Well, we're joined by Jack Zhang. He's an assistant professor in the Department of Political Science at the University of Kansas. Jack, thanks so much for joining us. If you were looking back at the last 100 years, what would you say have been the CPC's biggest achievements?
Great. Thanks for having me on the show. And I think we just heard from the previous segment that the past 100 years, the biggest achievements is the prosperity of, bringing prosperity to the Chinese people, right? China at the turn of the 20th century was one of the most impoverished places in the world, hopeless sort of basket case. And here we are in 2020, poised, where China is poised to become the largest economy in the world, and where poverty alleviation has made great strides. So, by far, the improved livelihood of 1.4 billion Chinese is the CCP's greatest accomplishment, in my view.
Following the end of the Cold War, many in the West thought that with the fall of Soviet communism, Chinese communism would fail too. It obviously didn't. Why?
It's an excellent question. There's a lot of people smarter than me writing about this. I think a lot of it has to do with willingness to innovate and experiment, right? That has been the hallmark of recent Chinese development, striking the right balance between central leadership and local initiative, striking the right balance between the state and the market to seek truth from facts and so forth. And out of that experimentation and sort of the ingenuity of the Chinese people, I think, it has created very different economic outcomes in China than the Soviet Union faced under central planning.
What do you foresee as some of China's challenges in the next 100 years, both short-term and long-term?
Sure. I don't know if I can speak to 100 years, but in the immediate run on the geopolitical scene, I think there are three key challenges. The first, I think, and most important is the risk of inadvertent military escalation. I think reasonable people on both sides of the Pacific want to avoid conflict that could escalate into a nuclear exchange or the implosion of the global economy, right? The problem is that both the United States and China think that being tough is a solution to achieve their political goals, right? To stand against oppression. And both sides are deploying more and better weapons, hoping the other side would back down. And what I teach my students in Intro to Political International Relations is that wars happen not because of weakness, but because of uncertainty, right? You don't pick a fight, if you know your opponent's too strong, your opponent won't fight back if they know that they're too weak, right? They would negotiate some sort of settlement. And so the problem is that when both sides think that they're strong enough and the other side is going to back down, that's when you get a conflict. And as the United States and China approach military parity, I think the danger of miscalculation really increases. The second challenge is economic coercion. So China is deeply integrated with the world economy, and that has brought many of the benefits that we have I just talked about, but it also brings some vulnerabilities, right? China is the target of economic sanctions and coercion, such as the U.S. tariffs and the trade war, export controls against tech companies like Huawei, right? But China faces increased temptation to use economic coercion for political ends as well. The United States is the largest sender of economic sanctions in the world. My research shows that China is now quickly the second largest and increasing in sort of the frequency at which it uses economic coercion as well. And so the issue is that these are destabilizing for global businesses who dislike uncertainty. And really, oftentimes, they don't really work that well and they alienate the sender, right? So how to manage economic leverage and power is going to be a challenge in coming years. And finally, I think the Belt and Road Initiative, there are many good things you can say about that and have been said on this program, but one of the risks is that in some of these politically risky countries, Chinese investments could be lost and Chinese citizens might be hurt. And until recently, China lacked the global power projection capability to intervene in faraway places. It has that power now. And so the choice of how to handle political crises in places where Chinese interests are growing is going to be a challenge for the foreseeable future as well.
Jack Zhang from the University of Kansas, thank you so much for your insight.